I know I said I wouldn't do an XRP price prediction, but I keep seeing other people do them, and they always frustrate me because they just throw out random numbers for no reason. So let's calculate what XRP's price can realistically hit on this episode of Crypto News in a Flash. But first, remember that this is not financial advice, and these price points are speculation. Anyone anywhere telling you that any investment will hit a certain price guaranteed is lying to you. There is an infinite number of factors to account for in this cake we are about to bake, with a thick layer of market manipulation icing smeared all over top of it. So now that we had that said, let's speculate. So first, things to consider. The SEC lawsuit versus Ripple, where they tried declaring XRP a security, but the court ruled that it was a commodity. The two ETF filings that have been acknowledged. The two exchanges have filed for ETP rule changes. Paul Atkins taking the chair at the SEC. SBI Holdings at Japan. ISO 20022 going live. Better Markets, amicus brief lawsuit filed against Ripple, Bitstamp's derivatives, and last but not least, cross-border payments in the Nostra Vostra accounts. This is the list of things I'm going to consider when making a price prediction. Obviously, there is tons more things that are integrated with XRP that could inherently boost the price or affect the price, but this video would need to be hours long if I was going to make a consideration that large. I'm focusing on a handful of big price manipulation points that I see being relevant over the next year, because a lot of the price depends on these upcoming events for XRP. So let's discuss that. The two XRP ETF filings that have been filed and acknowledged by the SEC are Grayscale and 21 Shares. On top of that, two exchanges have filed for rule changes allowing them to use those ETFs and trade them on traditional exchanges as an ETP. An ETF being an exchange-traded fund and an ETP being an exchange-traded product. If these ETFs get accepted, this would be huge. Not only does this bridge DeFi and TradFi, it would almost be as good as the lawsuit versus the SEC and Ripple being officially ended. Because once the SEC accepts any of the ETFs filed or the ETP rule changes that have been filed, those documents would be the SEC officially and legally recognizing XRP as a commodity for trading purposes. Because the Grayscale and 21 Shares ETF and SIBO and New York Stock Exchange ARCA ETP filings all mention XRP as a commodity. The SEC does that. That's literally the same as ending the lawsuit. There would be no possible way for the SEC to file further appeals on the current lawsuit because their own department would have declared the legal use of XRP as a commodity, making the premise of their own lawsuit irrelevant. The same department cannot declare something as a commodity and then continue to sue that same commodity to be a security. As of now, if the SEC wanted to file another appeal on it being a security, they technically can. Also, Better Markets filed an amicus brief in support of SEC's original lawsuit. Better Markets argues that the SEC was right to regulate XRP as a security. The SEC lawsuit and the amicus brief from Better Markets are pending in the court of law. If the SEC comes out and declares XRP a commodity, this will simultaneously validate the judge's current verdict in their lawsuit and destroy the foundation for Better Markets' amicus brief. So that's why this would be big news. If the SEC reclassified XRP as a commodity, the basis for Better Markets' amicus brief would no longer apply because the lawsuit is about whether XRP is a security. And then Better Arguments would have to change their legal argument and shift their efforts towards broader crypto regulation rather than XRP specifically, or they would have to shift their lawsuit altogether to directly sue the SEC and challenge their decision. I know I'm being long-winded and I apologize, but there is a lot to consider in the speculation of the price of XRP. For the sake of being simple, I'm going to cut it down and stop info dumping and imagine best case scenarios only. Starting from the top, let's imagine all these things. The SEC accepts the ETF filings for Grayscale and 21 Shares, as well as the ETP filings for New York Stock Exchange and SIBO Exchange, and by doing so, the SEC legally declares XRP a commodity. This then undermines the lawsuit. Paul Atkins takes over the SEC, cancels the lawsuit altogether. Better Markets pulls their amicus brief, and now they have no legal foundation to stand on since the SEC has completely withdrawn their lawsuit. ISO 20022 goes live. Banks in Japan like SBI Holdings go full integration. Bitstamp goes live, and XRP is being used for derivatives as well as the banks all over the world and around the US start using XRP for cross-border payments in November. Then we have to consider the Nostra Vostra accounts, because the Nostra Vostra accounts all over the world are no longer going to be needed for cross-border payments Banks will most likely use Nostrovostro holdings to buy supply in XRP to handle cross-border payments. The Nostrovostro accounts currently hold approximately $27 trillion. If they use 50% of that to adopt XRP and left the other 50% to handle in-person currency exchanges, then we are looking at some big numbers. So this is the chart that I have currently. And this chart isn't even accurate. I ran this through and accidentally started the price at 50 cents. We would easily be looking at a price of over $100 in perfect scenarios over the next year. Now remember, this is not financial advice. This is not a professional analysis. I myself am not an analyst. This chart was calculated by AI using the market factors that I presented in this video, but it's still an incredibly bullish scenario. There is a lot of prompt engineering that can go into producing AI charts, and I spent like 2 hours today building another prompt to get an extremely accurate and detailed price for XRP, and it accidentally got deleted. So I may do another video with an updated AI price prediction when I have the time. But this first prompt was a pretty decent prompt, and it's just going to have to do for today. But we cannot deny the fact that on just a generic run of trying to get these numbers into AI, it produced a pretty bullish chart. When November hits, if Nostrovostro does indeed start entering into the XRP market for cross-border payments, that would be very big. And these, like I said in the beginning, are not the only factors that can affect XRP's price. There is so much that I could probably implement, but that video would be way too long. I appreciate you all, and I would truly appreciate it if you like this video, if you would leave a comment and like this video. It really helps the algorithm. Wealth, love, and authenticity to you all.